Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 214 of the Ask the Coach show, where PingSkills help you improve your table tennis. 214 is the number of bones in a normal human skeleton, according to Sarah in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Today, we're going to discuss the German Open. In the questions, we talk about twiddling, Istvan Jonja's distinctive forehand loop, reading the spin during the rally, and why you never see a reverse backhand serve. I am Jeff Plum, and as always, Super Coach Alois Rosario is here with me to answer your questions. Welcome, Alois.
Thank you, Jeff. And yes, it'll be interesting to hear a little bit about Istvan Jonja, one of my heroes when I was young.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of Istvan Jonja bats, isn't there?
There is a Jonja bat, correct? That's right,
There
butterfly range.
Excellent. But before we get into that, Alois, I reckon we should get straight into the German Open. Just finished over the weekend. Huge tournament, big crowds. Had, Timo Boll and Ovcharov, the hometown favourites. What happened in this tournament?
Yeah, so, well, we'll start with the women's singles. So, so China didn't send their higher ranked players, but still, the Chinese came to the fore, and Wu Yang, world ranked number 10, ended up winning the event. Wu Yang, a chopper, nice chopper, beating Ishikawa in the final, and 4-1, fairly convincing.
There you go, Alois. Wu Yang, I have not really heard of her, and she's ranked number 10 in the world. I guess that's the problem when you're from China. If you're not in the top 4, you just don't get noticed, but still number 10 in the world.
Exactly. It's funny, isn't it? And yeah, that's right. So, being completely going under the radar for me anyway, being number 10 in the world. But there she is winning the German Open, and a big tournament with the top Japanese players playing there. So a good win for Wu Yang. And in the men's singles, really interesting tournament. So China did send their big guns there. Ma Long, Zhang Jike, Feng Bo. Zhu Xin didn't play though. But so Ma Long was number 1, Ovcharov number 2. Ovcharov going down early for him in the quarterfinals, losing to Chuang Chi-Yuan, who in the previous week won the Hungarian Open. So Chuang obviously in pretty good form at the moment. So yeah, good to see him coming through the ranks again. He's getting pretty old, but still hanging in there. But speaking of old.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, it's good to see him, Alois, getting good results. And if you haven't seen his Off the Table with Adam Bobrow, you got to take a look. We'll put a link in the show notes to that video as well. Pretty funny stuff.
Good. And yeah, sorry, I was saying. And then speaking of old, he came up against Samsonov in the semi, and was no match for Samsonov. So Samsonov, tough road, beating Boll in the quarters. Boll still a bit injured, still doesn't look 100%. Samsonov winning that 4-0, winning the clutch points really well. So he won the first 3 games, 12-10, 12-10, 11-9, and then 11-6 to beat Boll. Came up against Chuang Chi-Yuan and took him out in the semis. But on the other side, that's where all the heavyweights were. So Ma Long getting to the semi, but in the quarterfinal, Zhang Jike taking out Feng Bo, and we said he was gone. Well, there you go. Zhang Jike coming through 4-1. Didn't look like a really spirited match, though, Jeff.
No, certainly not. I'm not sure if it was just because Chinese against Chinese, but I don't know. It didn't have that same intensity of, maybe it's because it wasn't the World Championships, as like Feng Bo versus Ma Long in the final there. Yeah, just not a lot of intensity from what I saw.
Yeah, and it was similar in the semi. So Ma Long coming up against his great adversary Zhang Jike in the semi. And boy, it was a thumping. Ma Long just absolutely all over Zhang Jike. And again, not a spirited match. And Zhang Jike definitely still has some sort of injury. He just cannot move out wide to his forehand very well. So, Ma Long was almost protecting him. He was playing out backhand to backhand with him for most of the match. And then whenever he needed a point, he'd go deep into his forehand. And Zhang Zique, you could see, just couldn't move out there. Even in one of Zhang Zique's earlier matches, I was watching him play against Wang Chuntin. And yeah, he just didn't look right playing out wide from the forehand side. So, yeah, obviously, something there, and still on the road to recovery. Let's see if he can get that right by the Asian qualification tournament for the Olympics, and then maybe for the Olympics. But Ma Long looking really strong. So in the final, Ma Long shaping up against Samsonov. Again, Ma Long was up 3-0. Had 10-8 in the fourth for 2 championship points. Samsonov ended up winning that fourth game 12-10, and you should have seen the smile on Samsonov's face when he won it. It was just like, wow, like, I'm so pleased just to win a game against this guy at the moment, and Ma Long in super form. So Ma Long ending up winning 4 games to 1 pretty comfortably. The games he won were 7-6, 4, and 5. So, wow, he's in super, super form at the moment.
Wow, pretty impressive. So Ma Long just completely dominant again, losing 1 game for the tournament. That's unheard of. And what a successful tournament. I guess I think there was like 17 or so of the top 20 in the world in the men's there. And interestingly, like you said, it seemed like one side was stacked, but Ovcharov has now jumped up to number 4 in the world, so got seated ahead of Zhang Zique, which is why Ma Long and Zhang Zique were on the same side and met in the semi-finals.
Yeah, that's right. So it looked unbalanced, but that's what the world rankings are at the moment. So yeah, Fan Zhendong and Zhu Xin both didn't play, so Ovcharov was number 2 seed. So yeah.
Oh, well, impressive tournament. And Ma Long's dominance, Alois, reminds me a bit of Djokovic's dominance in the tennis. And Djokovic last night taking out the Australian Open in the tennis, and again he's a dominant force. I think he's won 3 of the last 4 Grand Slams and made the final of the other one. So I mean, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, some really close comparisons there. That's right.
All righty. Well, great wrap up of the German Open. Let's move on, Alois, to the last PingSkills question of the day. And, maybe if people had seen the German Open, they might have thought differently. But the question was, Ma Long or Jan-Ove Waldner?
Another good response to the PingSkills question of the day. As we expected, very divided. Shaji, Waldner always. Jonathan Landeros said Ma Long because he probably has more titles. So Bogdan sort of said, well, so wrong. J.O. Waldner, 6 times world champion and Olympic champion. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to just set their records side by side once Ma Long has finished. So quite a lot of Waldners, quite a lot of Ma Longs. A few definite Jan-Ove Waldners. He's such a legend, and his legendary status just lives on. And on the balance, Waldner probably came out ahead. But as you said, if they'd seen the German Open, maybe things are starting to change. If Ma Long wins the Olympics this year, then whoa, be a real title.
Absolutely. Yeah, always interesting to compare different generations, and hard to do. But yeah, like you said, Alois, I think people still have that legend of Waldner, and on the balance, I think he was the most popular. But wow, Ma Long in devastating form at the moment, that's for sure. I wonder if there's ever been anyone so dominant. Like even when Waldner was going, he was like up against the Chinese, and it was tough for him, and the Chinese would get him sometimes, and he'd come back. But here, it just seems like this real period of dominance. So interesting to see.
Yeah, and especially against it's a strong generation with those Chinese players of Fan Zhendong, Fang Bo, Zhu Xin, Zhang Zique. So yeah, he's really outstanding at the moment.
Absolutely. All right, that moves us on to today's PingSkills question of the day, which is, Should there be an international Liha table tennis league? And if you've been watching this show, you'll know that Lihas, where they use sandpaper bats, but they have to do an easy serve, and the returner has to return the serve with a chop. And if the server doesn't like it, he can catch it and say, no, you did that too aggressively. So it really creates open rallies. So jump onto our Facebook page or the blog at pingskills.com and let us know, should there be an international Liha table tennis league? Okay, that brings us on to this day in history. What happened on the 1st of February, Alois?
Yeah, rather tragically, 2003, Columbia, the space shuttle broke up on re-entry, so killing 7 astronauts. So, yeah, a bit of a downer on this day, but, yeah, a very big day in history, obviously, because it's something that everyone does remember. Yeah, rather tragic circumstances. So yes, we do remember those people aboard Columbia, and like really trying to push that space program forward. But on another note, in 1918, Russia finally adopts the Gregorian calendar, centuries after the Western world. So Russia caught up.
There you go.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be February the 1st.
In Russia.
That's right.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I love the space shuttle program, even though they've shut it down now. I love anything about space. I visited the Kennedy Space Center recently, Alice. Fabulous. If anyone gets a chance, go and take a look. All right. Into the questions. And first up, Ilya says, sometimes I play with long pimples on the backhand. Suppose that the ball goes to my forehand and I want to chop with long pimples because my forehand rubber is too fast for chopping. What's the best way to do that? Should I twiddle the bat or should I take a step around and use the backhand?
You can do either, obviously, Ilya, but I think, a lot of choppers tend to cover that ball with their backhand. But again, it depends on how fast the ball is and how much time you've got. If you've got a little bit more time to make the move, then that's probably the easier option. But often you just don't have that time. And being able to twiddle and then use the long pimples on the forehand is probably the better way to go on that sort of ball. A lot of the better choppers, though, if that ball is too tricky, they will just roll that ball and use their rubber side and just topspin that ball back, and that's really the game of the modern chopper now. Yeah,
certainly is. And I guess that mixes up the chopping with a bit of topspin, and yeah.
So it's really just a question of time. Yeah, how much time do you have? Can you get around there with the backhand?
Gotcha. All right. So, yeah, Ilya, if you're going to play with the long pimples, learn to twiddle just in case. But, yeah, try out those other options. Forehand topspin if you can, or get around if you got time. Next up, Il has asked a question. And Il says, I've watched Istvan Yonya, and sometimes he hits the ball with topspin without his elbow forearm action. So he only uses a straight arm and wrist. Is this true or am I mistaken? And he says, I want to know more about this Hungarian style.
Yeah, Yonya really revolutionized topspin, or that generation of Hungarians really revolutionized topspin. There was Klampa, Yonya, and Gergely, the three musketeers that took out the World Teams Championships. So Yonya had a very unique style. So yes, he did play with a very straight arm. Especially at the start there, the arm was really straight and he'd come up all the way there. So the theory there was, having a bigger arc was able to generate more spin. And he didn't use a lot of forearm at that stage. So now the game's developed a little bit more and players do use their forearm more because, again, that gets that bat moving faster. But at the time, Yonya used to generate so much topspin for the time. It was really incredible, and it was a real revolution in topspin at the time. So yes, that straight arm topspin, and even Klampa when he played his forehand had a very straight arm and played played forward that way. So Klemper, Yonya, and Gergely as well. Like Gergely was a bit crazier with his style, but a bit loopy and all over the place. But Yonya, world champion in the men's singles. So he obviously was doing something right, and at the time just started to put so much topspin on the ball, and players were just amazed at what was happening.
Yeah, very, very interesting style. And if you haven't seen him play, I will put a link in the show notes because Il's put a YouTube video up. So take a look. As Alois said, revolutionary at the time. Definitely worth checking out. But still not recommended these days, Alois.
No, now we just need to be a little bit faster. So the game wasn't as fast in those days. Now, the players you'll see will use a lot of forearm because that's a bit more efficient to get that speed or that racket head speed. So it's here and here. This was okay when you're a little bit further back and you've got a fraction more time, having the bigger arm action. Now it's more about wrist and forearm.
Excellent. All righty. Next up is a question from Daniel, who says, how do you know what spin is coming at you so you can prepare for it in the middle of the rally? Should you watch the opponent and his or her stroke to anticipate the direction of spin before the shot is even hit, or should you just watch the ball?
Aha, the ball. So the ball is the important part. Why is the ball important? Because by watching the ball, you're getting all the information that you need, and you're also seeing peripherally, out of the side of your eyes, you're seeing what's happening with the player. So you'll see by watching the ball over here, if you're watching over there, you can still see that I am waving my fingers over here. So by watching the ball, you're getting the flight of the ball, the spin on the ball, all that sort of thing. And as I said, you will also see what the player is doing. If you're trying to watch the player and then watch the ball, it just doesn't work. You just can't shift your focus that quickly in table tennis. So just focus yourself on the ball, and that will give you the information. So what information are we looking at? We're looking at the way the ball's dipping, the way the ball's floating. And as I said, also, you will also see, so if the ball's here and they're playing in the rally, or they're playing a serve, for example, you're going to see the action of the bat. You're going to see which way that they are coming across with the ball. So, so it's just all about watching the ball, basically.
Yeah, and this is one of your favorite topics, Alois. You love talking about this. Watching the ball is so critical. And, it's an interesting topic for me too, because it also, brings in, anticipation. So Daniel's asking how, if you're watching that, can you prepare so you can anticipate where it's going? But really, watching the ball is the key, and it, gives you cues about what the opponent's doing, and you can start to tell, where the ball's going by just picking up those cues. We have a great video on improving your reflexes, which I'll put a link in the show notes as well, that goes into this in detail. So yeah, Daniel, watch the ball. Okay. Now, Marcin has asked, why is it that you never see a reverse backhand serve? It's easy to do, and it gives the opposite side spin to the traditional backhand serve. And Martin said, I did that kind of serve in his school days.
So I think what Martin's talking about here is, so this is your backhand serve, badunk. Martin's talking about this. So hitting the ball this way, bang, give it a try. Like, Martin, I like the idea. I like anything that's different. If you can have a go at it, see what it's like, see whether it works again. Might not just be from the school days. And you're right. Players don't use it a lot, especially at the top level. I don't see anyone using this serve. So give it a try. See how you go with the reverse backhand serve. And PingSkillers, go out there, give it a try. See, it might be something that you can do. I remember one of my C grade junior team buddies, David Brand, who still doing a lot of coaching here in Melbourne, used to do, instead of the pendulum serve, used to do the serve just using the back of his bat. It's basically the same thing, but it confused everyone, especially in C-grade junior pennant. Got them all the time.
Absolutely. And, maybe people think it feels a bit awkward, which is why they're not doing it. But the reverse pendulum serve would have felt awkward at first, but it became popular. So, yeah, get out there. As Alois said, try the reverse backhand serve and let us know how effective it is.
Yeah, send me a video of your reverse backhand serve and let's see. Let's see who's got the best one.
Yep, send in your best reverse backhand serve. Okay, and then Ilya has asked another question using the Google Q&A app. So thanks, Ilya. He says, how do you return a power loop with long pimples?
Yeah, so the power loop, or if it's a strong loop, the pimples actually helps you to absorb some of the speed and spin on the ball. If you're close to the table, probably the best way is to do a chop block with the pimples. I haven't got a sheet there. Yeah, so just coming down on the ball like that, and the pimples will tend to absorb some of the speed and spin. It's still a difficult shot, but that's what you can do. Or if you're away from the table, then a chop is probably the best option. We've got a video on the chop block with the long pimples, so we'll put a link on about that, and then also we'll put a link on about the backhand chop that you can use the long pimples for that as well. So there's two options for you.
Great. Well, that wraps up episode 214. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you go to pingskills.com and sign up for our free newsletter. If you haven't, do it now. Great table tennis tips every week. We just sent one out yesterday packed full of information, so get onto the email list. Thanks, everyone, for your questions and for watching, and thank you, Alois.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And yes, I read all the responses that people sent through after you sent out we sent out the newsletter. So that was great. Thanks for all the responses, and we focused mainly on the return of serve in that one. So yeah, some really good tips on the newsletter. So get onto it. See if you can make sure you subscribe to the newsletter and get those regularly.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.